John B. Watson, an American psychologist and behaviorist. Who is John B. Watson and why is he important? John B. Watson codified and publicized behaviorism, an approach to psychology restricted to the objective view of the relationship between environment and behavior. He was a successful professor at the University of Chicago and Johns Hopkins, where he met his assistant and later wife, Rosalie Rayner. Watson was well known for disliking unobservable data. He believed that psychology should only focus and study on things that can be measured through experimentation and data. Watson's most significant interests were his focus on the way that emotions can be learned, believing that emotions are merely physical responses to external stimuli, which was a very controversial topic at the point. Watson was influential to the field of psychology in many ways and gave several scientific contributions. He is considered the father of behaviorism, but this is credited to his interest in Pavlov's theories. Pavlov's interest in classical conditioning and the learned behavior of dogs led Watson to experiment his theories that emotional reactions in humans can be brought about the same way. His most famous experiment involved a young boy, about 9 months old, that they called Little Albert, that he used to explore his theories. Watson showed Little Albert a white rat, among other objects, and at first interaction the boy was unafraid. However, in later tests, every time Watson made the boy and the rat interact, he produced a loud noise which scared Little Albert. After repeatedly having this reaction when the rat was present, Little Albert eventually learned to fear the rat, even after Watson stopped producing the sound. This eventually led to Little Albert's fear of other generalized white furry objects. This experiment proved their theory that human emotion can be classically conditioned and shaped the field of psychology through this proof. While this experiment is incredibly popular and is present in most psychology classes, it is widely criticized for various reasons. First would be the poor experimental design, as Watson did not develop an objective means to gauge Little Albert's reactions. He only relied on his interpretations of the way he reacted. The experiment was also criticized for the ethical and moral concerns, as there is no way that the experiment could be recreated by today's standards. The experiment was also criticized by a psychologist, Hall P. Beck, an American psychologist that tracked down the true identity of Little Albert in order to gain more insight on Watson's conclusions. Little Albert was actually a boy named Douglas Merritt, who died at the age of 6 from a disease called hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is a buildup of fluid on the brain. Watson's lying about the health of Little Albert skews his results and his credibility, as his subject was not a normal child, so his conclusions about the basis of human emotions are inaccurate. I chose this psychologist because his studies interested me because I am a very logic-based person. I appreciate his use of reasoning and observational data while conducting experiments because that is also the way that I think. I learned that while it is beneficial to have actual data while conducting experiments, there can be moral and ethical restrictions which should be taken into account, unlike what Watson did during the Little Albert experiment. Watson is particularly important today because of his popularization of behaviorism and the popularization of logic in psychology. This made it a more respectable and evidence-based field of science, which is beneficial for the entire field today.